At least filled almost all of the chairs. We do have some more chairs back there if anybody needs them, but at least we're a little more comfortable tonight than we were last night. And that's good. I'm going to turn it over to Chuck for the invitation.
It's good.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
No, I just sit still. Are you okay? Judy, you just disappeared around here this year.
Will you bow your heads, please? Our Father in heaven, we thank you so much for the opportunity to be here tonight. And we're reminded as we approach this time of year of your greatest commandment, which is to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. And we pray that you will bless us tonight as we attempt to apply that idea. Be with us and protect us and guard us and guide us. We thank you very much. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
You know what?
Thank you very much. Joe, you're next.
I
Okay, Linda.
this person come and get me.
I guess you're next, Linda. Got my orders mixed up.
Well, I guess I know you, but I don't know what. An oil pit.
Good evening. It's nice to be here. I just wanted to stand up and say a few words of encouragement to all of us. I think we've done a terrific job. We have a terrific crowd, and we thank you all for being here. Let's keep up the good work. I think we've got a good start.
Yep. Thank you.
We all agree.
Yeah, look at that. I think we're all here for the same reason, and it's nice to see such a large group. I've been working at this for about 22 years, and now it looks like it's finally coming together, and we do need this, and I'm sure that we'll do some good. Okay, Joe. Oh, okay, you can take it.
Good evening. For those of you that weren't at the last meeting, my name is Ken Pearson, and Joe has graciously got me involved in this thing. So tonight he wanted to have me address two things. The first thing was, if you people, any of you attended the board meeting on the 8th of April, you heard some discussions and going on. One of the things he wanted me to talk about was that 4-foot excavation proposed on the East Parker waterway holding pond on the other side of Pueblo. And it seems strange to me in my involvement with community and goings on that it was just a motion made, and if they voted on it or approved it or what, I don't know. But if that park holding pond has never provided or never had a overflow on it, that means that it's designed to capacity. So there's no reason to change that. I don't know what their plan is or what they said at the meeting because I wasn't there. But if whatever they've got planned, there's no need to do that. So that we aren't just barking up a tree. I was telling Joe today there's some things that should happen. Number one is, if the people that live around that area, water storage area, somebody should go out from our group and talk to each individual that owns land adjacent to that. And there's 17 homes there. And it should, you could give them a questionnaire, or they could answer it for you when you were there. Just tell them if you have a little questionnaire, come back and get it. My proposal on that questionnaire would be to first, have you ever seen water approach the top of the holding pond? Are you in favor of removing 4 feet of dirt from the bottom? are you in favor of the excavation? So then you'd have a box there on the bottom, a check yes and a check no box. And then either get it from them that visit or come back and get it. Now all of a sudden, we aren't barking up a tree like a coon dog. We have something to say, no, you know, there's 17 people there, 15 are not in favor of it and 2 are. So we don't think that that's a viable, I'm just throwing that out as an example. So now you got a viable argument. You're just not saying our group feels, you're saying our group fails because this is what the people living there, how they're going to be affected. And then it should be the same thing on the west park for the 18 homes there. Are you in favor of filling? Are you in favor of the proposed use?
Hey,
When
Ken,
we know what it is, excuse me. And then have a yes or no box for them to check also. And then if you answered no, what would it take to change your mind? Would you ever change your mind and be in favor of having something built next to you when you purchased, not thinking it was ever going to change? So, and there's so many things going on. And my involvement with government is, if you were proposing something like this, the first thing you would do is have a public hearing for a specific project. And then a plan should be laid out to you. What is the long-range plan? What are you eventually trying to do? How much is it going to cost? And is that land owned by the people that live in the park? If it is, then maybe everybody should vote on it if they're in favor of that expenditure. Now, I'm just laying this out as possibilities of the way I think it should go. The other thing is, I feel that if this is going to be a continual problem in changing land use from its original proposal, number one, then there should be a zoning committee set up. I mean, if we're changing stuff, then you got to have somebody that's going to look at it and say, no, we don't think that's a good idea, or maybe you should proceed. But you should have a zoning committee, rather than just some person making a motion and going on somebody else. And the other thing I thought was interesting, some of the people here I know I seen at the meeting where Dr. Ruth, or whatever her name was, had that work session. And when she got to the end, she said the people here have to look at the footprint of the park. Meaning, is there room for everything you want to do? Or do you have to purchase more land? Or, you know, she wants people to look at that. So, again, until we know where all this stuff is going, should be a public meeting, and other things have to be done. If they're going to propose buying more land, if that's her proposal, that our footprint is not big enough, that we need more land to provide stuff that people say they want, then I think that should be approached in that manner. So, I don't know if I've confused you more or not, but I just feel that some of this stuff is moving quicker than it should be. So, can I open it up for questions, or you want to save that for later? Questions for later? Okay. No? Okay. So, there was a gentleman that raised his hand back here.
come on, honey, you take the mic. I'll take the mic, you can hear me.
Is that okay? Am I here?
What's your name?
My name is Dan Christensen. I live here full year-round on 79th Place. I've been a registered architect in the state of Arizona for over 30 years. And as far as the first that caught my attention was, you have a retention basin and somebody wants to deepen it by 4 feet. It's not a matter of, do we want it, has it filled? It's a matter of civil engineering. It's a matter of because I do this all the time. As part of being an architect, you have to also know a little civil engineering. And retention basins in Phoenix is just basic engineering. You have so much land, so much is grass, so much gravel, so much is asphalt, and they all absorb rain at a different rate. And City of Mesa has 2.5 inches per year of rain that you have to retain in a certain area after you take the area and you take all these factors. I mean, it's as simple as that. Somebody came up with, I need to have 4 feet more. Okay, show me the engineering on it. That's all you have to do. Otherwise, how did you come up with all of a sudden you have to 4 feet? I mean, it's as simple as that. It's not what people say they see, or it's just basic. Either it is or it isn't. And that's all I wanted to say on that.
Okay, thank you. One thing I can shed on what he commented on is that the park has a civil engineer on retainer based on what he's providing information for. He doesn't get a set salary per month, it's whatever his services are. And he is doing a drainage study for the whole park. I was told that by the park administrator today. So I know that that is going on. Some lady here had a comment.
When we were at the board meeting on April 8th, they explained it, Ken, as it was going to be for drainage purposes. That it was going to keep it from running down Pueblo down to the gate. And that was all that I heard about it, but it had already been predetermined when they brought it up.
I'm Marcy Dupuy. I live on Ember Circle. I'm new to Fountain of the Sun. I've lived here less than a year, but I've been in Arizona for 42 years. Now, at that meeting, I understood them to say that the city of Mesa requested it because of flooding at the intersection.
True or false?
John Burgum, I was at the meeting too, and they said that they're working with the city because of that, because they need to stop the water from going out Sossaman Gate, because they said you could take a canoe and go right across Sossaman. But that's not going to help, because that comes from Hawes to the first one. So the water from Sossaman is going to run back up to fill that one in again. It's still going to go out Sossaman from that first one. And there's more land going from the first one down to Sossaman than there is from Hawes one to that one. So, you know, they just want to take that dirt out there, fill in the other one, so they can put all their junk in there. That's what it's for.
That's one thing that we have to do, is make sure we know for sure where that dirt is going, what their plans are, and that can only be solved by having a public meeting.
This has nothing to do with what we're talking about now. I just wondered if you could read to all of us what actually letter you gave to the board, and then I have a statement afterwards.
Well, I'm glad to do that, but I'm not sure that that I can do that right at this immediate moment. Give me a moment to pull it up. I didn't bring a copy of it here, but it was read, the cover letter was read at the April 1st meeting. The other letter was read at the previous March 4th meeting, and both of those letters are published on our website, fossforum.com. So they have been available. I will address that in a little bit. We want to try to remember that our focus in this group, Keep Fountain of the Sun Affordable, needs to be on issues pertaining to Keep Fountain of the Sun affordable. There's a lot of peripheral issues, a lot of other agenda items, a lot of things that everybody would like to address, but our primary focus needs to be on the one thing, Keep Fountain of the Sun affordable. So we're trying to move ahead with that. I will read the letter in a minute.
Okay, you will read it then? You will read it?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so I want to reply it.
Okay.
I think we'll, yes, I'm sorry. One more comment, and then we'll move on here to the next thing.
My name is Linda Trombley. I live in 8222 East Pueblo. Maybe with what you're going to say, you're going to throw me out of here, but I don't agree with a lot of things that are in here. I think it's going to make Fountain of the Sun, most people won't be able, it won't be affordable. I really do believe that. However, the Maxi Parks belong to everybody in Fountain of the Sun, not the 17 people that have houses around it. They're not, wait a minute, they're not just assessed for the water, they're not assessed for the maintenance. Everybody in here is assessed for. I think the Maxi Park should go back to desert. I mean, there's a water problem in Arizona anyway. But I'm against most of this stuff that's in here. $25 million is outrageous. And a lot of things, you know, buying a golf course, 2 tennis courts for $220,000, that's ridiculous. There are some things I think that should be addressed, but now I don't think you need to make it millions and millions of dollars where all of our assessments are going to go up. I don't have a problem with another pickleball maybe somewhere or something. But I just don't think that the Maxi Parks belong to those 17 houses. They don't. They belong to all of us. And it's very expensive to water them, to maintain them, to fertilize them, to mow them, to keep the equipment for that. I mean, nobody really addresses that.
There is no.
Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you.
There is no expense.
We're going to close that. We got to close it now. I'm sorry. We got to move on here. One thing I learned about running a meeting, and I know Joe and Greg know that, if it lasts over an hour, people are going to get tired of coming. So we got to deal with the issue at hand and move on. One other thing Joe wanted me to read here was an exchange at the last meeting. And,
Since the meeting.
pardon?
Email exchange came since the meeting.
Okay. Okay. So I'm going to use some names here. I was told that people had given Joe permission to do that. And the conversation started out like this. Doreen wrote, "I thought the vote was unanimous to delete any mention of legal action. If they received the letter before the meeting in time to include it, and by the dates written, and it looks like they did, then we are very disappointed in their response. However, the referral to possible legal action may have been rash, and we did not want to include it for that reason." Then the reply to that was, "The letter and the attachment do not make any mention or allude to any legal action. Instead, the cover letter specifically states, while this letter does not portend of any legal action, the letter was read, voted on, and approved by a show of hands vote at our April 1st meeting. All 7 of the board members did receive the letter and 3 attachments days before the board meeting. The question for discussion at the April 15th KFA meeting is what action to take next. We are definitely not proposing or threatening or making any overtures at all about any possible legal action at this time. All we have asked for is for the board to respond to the issues mentioned in the 2 letters.
Why was it even mentioned in that letter then? That right there puts their hair on the back of their neck up. It should have never been mentioned. We voted on that, and it was passed the majority, and it should not have been in that letter. Already we're at a grip at them now, fucking heads. That's not right. We voted on it. Did we not?
You want me to continue reading or should I stop?
Well, you pretty much read what the letter said, what I asked to read. And that was the legal action, and that shouldn't have been mentioned.
I'm sorry, I didn't bring the letter, the letter, the cover letter that was read. You have it there?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, this was the letter that was read at the April 3rd meeting to the attention of the Fountain of the Sun FOSSA Board of Directors and by each board member's name from KFA, Keep Fountain of the Sun Affordable Coalition. Subject, request this to be read aloud at the April board meeting and to be published in board minutes, and we request written responses. This letter is to inform you, the Fountain of the Sun Board of Directors, of some of the major concerns that a very large and rapidly growing coalition of Fountain of the Sun homeowners and condo owners, more than 500 so far, now have. While this letter does not portend of any legal action yet being considered, the purpose of
Right
this...
there.
Yeah,
Right there.
that should have been
blocked
taken out.
it. They're gonna butt heads with us.
Okay,
That's my feeling.
well, we'll
I'm
finish.
sorry, it should have never been done. We
Can
voted on it.
can I finish reading it?
No, you said what I wanted to state.
Well, you're reading half of it.
Excuse me, ma'am, what is your name?
We're going to get out of control here. I'd like to have been able
Wolfensberger,
to... Do you have it?
824 South 77th
I'm
Place.
Oh, good,
Yes,
thank you.
Write it down, please.
That's good, I'll finish reading it then. The purpose of this letter is to express the fact that many hundreds of Fountain of the Sun owners strongly disapprove of many of the decisions and actions that the FOSSA Board of Directors has taken and proposed, and to request a written response to each of the items mentioned in the attached letter initial draft. Our list of issues, questions, concerns, and suggestions will be further refined and expanded in the future, and we will respectfully request your timely responses as the best basis for going forward. Respectfully, and it was signed by Marcia Thompson, Secretary. And then there were the 3 attachments. The first attachment was the letter to the FOSSA Board, the initial draft of which was March 4th, 2019. That was the primary focus of that letter, and I believe we have a copy of that here. That was read, oh, here it is. So that was read at the March 4th meeting. Now, if the major concern here is the sentence that says, while this letter does not portend of any legal action yet being considered, then fair enough, we'll strike that sentence.
It's too late.
If that's the concern.
It's out there.
What? Well, it does speak the truth.
This is what we're having trouble with the board.
All right.
And already you kind of did it to us right here.
All right, let's try to proceed here with what we hope to accomplish tonight and keep it within the time. If there's, come on forward and speak. If the rest of the letter is not problematic, then we're proposing to resend the letter in any case. So we'll resend the letter and leave out that particular sentence that seems to have been a concern to some people. Let me first ask for a show of hands. How many people here were okay with the letter as it was read and submitted? Show of hands. Okay. How many people here have a concern about that one sentence in the letter. Okay, so it would be something like 60-40. So there's not a problem in removing that one sentence and proceeding, I think, with it. Let's ask it this way. If we remove that one sentence from the letter, how many then would be okay, show of hands, of sending the letter with that sentence removed? All right. How many would still be opposed to sending the letter? So it doesn't seem as though anybody is opposed to sending the letter. We have a comment from back here. Come forward and speak on the microphone.
I think I can project. Are you not putting a time limit on their response back to you? I mean, it sounds to me like it's very open-ended. If I were getting that letter, I wouldn't think I have to respond to you for months. I'm just saying, if you're sending it, put a time limit. Oh, you can hear me.
We can hear you. No, we can't.
That's okay. Okay.
Put a time limit on it.
I'm Judy Wilson. I live on 79th Place. I'm just saying, if you're going to send a letter like this and you want a response, then we should say we should have a response within 15 days, 7 days, whatever. The way it's written now, it seems to me that it's totally open-ended. And I could send you an answer in 2 months.
Good point. Good point.
One more thing. I'm just saying, and I don't know if this is right or not, but instead of hiring an attorney, if we really think something's going on that should not be happening and it's not legal, we should be contacting the Attorney General of the state of Arizona. They will then come in, they will make an evaluation, and they will say, here's what should happen, here's what cannot happen. But instead of going out and hiring an attorney to do what we don't know, call the AG's office, write them a letter. But you've got to state what it is you want accomplished.
This is so productive. I really appreciate it. Oh, we have this gentleman.
Yeah, I've been standing here in the background.
Okay.
My name is Ken Cloud. There's a few people know who I am because I happen to have some friends that live here. I have made a mistake. I closed on a house here 2 months ago. Had I known what's going on here tonight, you couldn't get me to buy a place here. And the reason why is you guys are going to screw this place up, and you're headed in that direction. I've been involved with different condominium associations and etc. If anyone wants to buy 8129 East Oldest, it's for sale tonight because you're driving it downhill.
Put it up for sale, we'll sell it.
Yeah, you'll put them up for sale, all right. But I mean, the direction this place is heading, I mean, who would want to buy a place here? I didn't know you guys were doing this. Had I known you guys were doing this, I'd have bought somewhere else.
Did you know
or
that
not at all.
Did you know that they were going to spend $25 million?
Did I know they were going to spend $25 million?
Yeah, to upgrade
No,
this.
I did not.
Would you bought it?
No, I would not. I would not have bought. That's why I said I'm asking for your apology because I made a mistake. I know I made a mistake, and you guys are headed in the wrong direction. That's all.
So what's your suggestion then?
I'd see, the reason I came here is I thought it was a nice, affordable place. And I thought, geez, for the amenities that you got here, it's a nice, affordable place.
We're trying to keep
And if you don't keep it that way, you're gonna drive it on the ground.
Make sure you guys know that. Screw it up.
Before we have a mass hysteria here, let me try something on you. Try this on you for size. The general consensus, it seems, is that we all want to keep Fountain of the Sun affordable. That's our right. And so, our reason for writing to the board or trying to communicate with the board is to get them to acknowledge that there is a significant number of people in this community for whom that is a priority objective. I'm not speaking up, but my name is louder. All right, so here we go. Here's a suggested alternative approach to submit the same materials with a revision to the Board of Directors. Here's a draft that's dated April 15th, tonight. Attention, FOSSA Board of Directors, from the KFA Keep Fountain of the Sun Affordable Coalition. Subject, formal request for FOSSA Board response. It's a very short paragraph. April 3rd, 2019, the KFA Coalition, now representing more than 600 members so far, mailed a letter signed by the KFA Secretary with 3 attachments to the FOSSA Board of Directors to request the letters be read aloud at the next FOSSA Board meeting and to be published in the Board minutes, and requested written responses to each of the items addressed in the attached letter initial draft. Since the FOSSA Board of Directors did not respond or acknowledge the original April 3rd, 2019 request, the undersigned Fountain of the Sun homeowners and condo owners now formally request the FOSSA Board of Directors to address the original requests by the next FOSSA Board meeting. Now, I think that addresses what the lady raised as an issue. So we have this item right here with a series of 15 lines on it, and we have 9 copies of it. It would be my suggestion that we pass this around and have as many people as are willing print their name and their address and put their signature by it. We've had more than 100 signatures, but they were signatures without address and printed name. So we know from prior experience the board won't respond to that. So how many people would be in favor of signing this letter and resubmitting the previous 2 letters with a modification to 1 sentence as discussed here this evening? How many people would be in favor of doing that tonight?
I have a question first.
Okay, how many people would be opposed to doing that tonight? All right, it seems like a majority, so we'll...
I just think that, like this lady suggested, you said to the next meeting, I think there should be a date attached to that.
Good idea.
To the next FOSSA Board meeting.
Right. When the date that meeting will be.
People really don't utilize it. They only have a vote per household.
All right, we'll handwrite that date on here. How? Any more comments on this, and please feel free to come forward and take the microphone. Otherwise, we'll start passing these around. We have 3 copies. Okay, we have our first signer. Isn't this fun? We're actually doing something.
Is it 1 signature per household?
Is it 1 signature per household? That's what it should be, because that's how they count your votes.
My personal opinion would be as many signatures, more than 1 per household, it doesn't matter, because they can distill it down to only counting 1 per household. But we need as many names as we can get on here, and we can continue to add names to this letter from people who aren't here. We'll figure out a way to do that. Come on up.
My understanding is whoever is registered as a homeowner, like on my deed, I have my daughter and me, so each of us get a vote.
Okay.
No, 1 household per house. That's it.
Okay. When it comes to a legal proceeding, there's only 1. Ken has to go to another meeting, I know. Okay, he's going to stick around. All right. When it comes to a legal proceeding, there is 1 resident or 1 property, 1 vote. However, for the purpose of our objective here, we want as many people as possible signed on it. So everybody can sign, and if 5 people live in your house, all 5 of them can sign. Doesn't matter. Any more comments, come to the front and take the microphone, and please do.
Thanks, Joe. My name's Kurt Appel. I'd just like to get some follow-up and find out what people think about the woman's suggestion about going to the Attorney General.
I like that.
We're trying to follow up on the idea of someone going to the Attorney General.
Guns behind us.
Well, how many, we think that trying to go to the Attorney General should be a second step, not our first contact, because that does become then a legal threat. If our initial contact to the FOSSA Board of Directors is to say, we're going to the Attorney General with this, that becomes a legal threat. We're trying to do this in a civil manner and get people to get the Fountain of the Sun Board of Directors to respond. If they don't respond, the next step then would be a logical step to go to the Attorney General's office. So, are you willing to send this letter as is without the threat, legal threat?
Yes.
I think we are. Okay. Come on up.
How about ending the letter with something soft? Marcy, I was up here a few minutes ago. Marcy. Okay. How about ending the letter respectfully? We would like to try and work together.
Let me suggest that I think her comment is, how about adding something to the letter that says respectfully, we would like to work together. The other letter that we would be attaching, we will include that. We did say respectfully, but we can add that to the previous cover letter and say amended. So we'll be sending copies of, not the original, of these documents that are being signed tonight with an attachment of the previous cover letter modified and the original March 4th list of issues. It's kind of like Martin Luther nailing the, whatever they called it, on the door of the church to let the Pope know that somebody was paying attention. So this is just a matter of sending an initial endeavor to have a communication with them in writing. The request is because, as you well know, if we try to have an open discussion, it's going to be chaos, and they will throw their comment. Let me rephrase that. The likelihood is that a lot of comments would go back and forth, and there's no tracking on it. The reason we're video recording these meetings is so that we have an accurate representation of what's transpired, good, bad, and different. We're asking the board to do the same. Video record the board meetings so that everybody in this community has an opportunity to see exactly what's going on and not have things discussed out of hand where we can't remember what was said, whether it's digging 4 feet deeper on a water retention basin or whatever it happens to be. So now, we have some other agenda items. Can we move along, or do we have more comments on this? We're getting a lot of signatures here tonight. We have, with the stack of more materials, we probably will go over 700 people participating in the Keep Fountain of the Sun Affordable Coalition. But we want to get to 2,000. So the next item coming up is going to be to discuss how we can improve the number of people that are involved. And come on up.
Just remind them that they're part of the park too.
But they said that they're working with us, but apparently I don't see it that way.
We'd like them to work with us.
I
think really what Joe was talking about is the fact is that there's 600, over 600 members now, and we've got 383 questionnaires that have been filled out. So it'd really be great if the people that have joined would fill out a questionnaire. That would be great. And the question we really have is, what do you think we could do to get more questionnaires filled out?
We need more people going to the other meetings also.
That's right.
To the other meetings, yep, I agree. And I will say this, not to start a war, but I was so disappointed that the board did not read that letter that was sent to them, but they could read a letter about dog poop. So anyway, that's my opinion. I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know. We don't know. I don't think we have a date yet for that. Yes. One thing I'd like to do, you've got 3x5 cards. From the meeting last time, there were a bunch of the 3x5 cards that were turned in, and I want to read the comments of what were on those cards real quick. If I mispronounce somebody's name, you can correct me, or you can have a talk with me after the meeting, one of the two. But anyway, what we had here was that Sherry Garrett wrote, "We are leaving Fountain of the Sun, and one of the main reasons was because the direction Fountain of the Sun is going. It will become harder to sell due to increased HOA fees and special assessments that will price people right out of the community. We are very sad to leave the many great friends we have made here during the almost 10 years we have lived here." I think we all agree with that. Then another person wrote, this one was anonymous, "After the April 8th FASA board meeting, Dave Lechner asked one of the board members, is it true that we are paying the golf course $8,000 a year for water for the green spaces? He replied, actually it's closer to $9,000 for each condo of the condo associations and for the homeowners group, so actually it's almost $18,000 a year. The condo grass is still being watered, but the homeowners' green spaces are not. It was in the bylaws that we had to pay that to the country club. And I said that I thought we should change the bylaws to correct that, but he said that it's difficult to do so. Second, I asked if it was true that it only took 30% of those present to pass propositions. I think what he means there is 30% of the total residents here, the total properties.
Total voting.
Yeah, total voting properties. He said that is true in some cases, however, all capital improvement expenditures need a 50% plus one of that 30%. So, anyway, that's clearing that up. I'm sorry?
Does that mean then that it's 15% actually if it's...
No, it would, what it would mean is that a quorum, they'd have to, I think what he's meaning is there'd have to be a quorum.
Of 30%?
Yeah, a quorum of 30%, which would be approximately like 707 properties would be there. Here's a man that's going to give us the straight answer here.
I hope so. I wasn't planning on being here. We were going to leave today, but we didn't get out of here, so we came to the meeting tonight. But I'm Dave Lechner, and I asked the board members that question. He said that on any capital improvement, it must be 50% plus one of all eligible voters. So if there's 3,000 eligible homeowners, it would take 1,501 votes to pass any capital improvement.
That sounds better. Okay. Next, we had to ensure full transparency. It is essential that all FOSA board meetings must be video recorded and published for full transcripts, and all propositions must be published in writing on the FOSAZ.com website for all FOS homeowners and condo owners to have access to see and consider not less than 2 weeks before any votes are taken. That's a good idea, I think. It says April 8th, after several board meetings, several FOS homeowners have asked, will there be a vote on any major proposed capital improvement expenditures? The response has always been yes, but how exactly is that vote to be accomplished in all cases? Some have said that votes must be by 2/3 of those present, and others have said that the votes would be by 50% of those present. I think we just got that clarified for us. Keep reading. Now, these are your cards, so I'm gonna keep boring you with them. So anyway, it says, it often seems that the board has already made decisions about what they are planning to do, and any discussion during the open board meeting is a rather inconsequential formality and does not allow for reasonable consideration by homeowners. Paul Brodecki wrote, before buying at FOS, most people will ask current residents and their agent, what is it like living at FOS? I did. We need to find common ground to resolve the current situation soon. A good reputation takes years to establish, but only a few months to be ruined. And I certainly agree with that. I think our board's missing a good chance right now to bring this community together, and it's not happening. Next was, FOS is such a peaceful place to live as it is. If it wasn't good enough, why did people buy here? Next, we bought here for the amenities that were here and for the yearly fees as they were. We do not want to increase the fees to pay for facilities like that of the Biltmore. Keep Fountain of the Sun affordable. Seniors are on a fixed income, overdoing additions for pleasure and convenience and not for needs of looks and landscaping and problems seeming minor, but the residents do not. We could use a fence on the main entrance and green belt for pets. That area needs to be green regardless for impressiveness. At the board meeting, it may be beneficial for several different folks to be selected to bring up questions we have to address the board with. It is important that we speak with clarity and without emotion. It puts the board on the defensive. We might want to put them on the, no, I'm sorry. Anyway, my concern is that if a meeting be held to determine if the community will move forward with the master plan and there is a small attendance, that will allow a quorum to pass the motion. Explain the numbers needed at a meeting to pass the master plan as presented at present. I think that's what the gentleman did just a minute ago. My opinion, allow one more 10% association fee increase in 2020. After that, the increase should never be more than the COLA increases. We need to build our reserves. And one is here, let's see, Mary, I'm not going to pronounce this right, Dupuy, thank you very much. Is that you? Okay. Any funds allocated for a project should have a time limit as to when the project must be started and finished. Currently, there are plans to install a resident gate in the right lane coming in from Broadway at 80th Street. It is my understanding the gate was voted on 2 years ago, but not purchased at that time. The install is now being scheduled and the money for that purchase will be due. Please consider the recommendation and request to set time limits for the projects. And then there were a few cards that had comments on them that really weren't I guess they actually weren't really related to what we're talking about here tonight, but I'm going to go ahead and read some of those to you anyway.
Just want to add a comment if I may. Every comment that's written on a 3x5 card and submitted, there's boxes over here and more 3x5 cards and pens. Every single comment that is submitted is posted on the fossforum.com website. Our objective is to make sure that every comment, anything, question, comment, suggestion, concern that anybody in this community has is made available. You can do it anonymously. We prefer it if you put your name, at least the first name, but preferably first and last name, with your comment. Everyone is posted. We will try to read as many of them as we can at each meeting, unless we just have way too many to try to get through. But we just want you to know that everybody needs to be heard, whether they come up and speak or submit a card. Come on up.
just a suggestion. I've just heard 3 different possible how votes are counted based on the comments that I've heard read here this evening. I think, and I don't know if it's right or not, but I think it is the voting, not people who are present, but a percentage of those people voting. So even if you vote by mail or however, I think that's how the percentage is determined. I think we need, if you're going to put these comments on, and they're multiples about voting, I think we need to have an answer that we know is right. So if we need to go to John or whomever, instead of all of us reading it and thinking we're right, we need to know what's right.
I agree with her. I asked a realtor, and a realtor supposedly for me asked somebody that was previously on the board, and that's why I said what I did, that I was told that even with mail-in votes or whatever, that it only took 30% to make a quorum. And it was 50 votes plus 1, or 50% of the group plus 1 vote is all it would take to pass it. Now that's what I was told by, supposedly through a board member. Yeah, it's actually in the bylaws, and it is worded that way. It is worded that way in the bylaws. I have read the bylaws, and that's what the bylaws say. Yes, yeah, and of course the bylaws are on the Fountain of the Sun website too, so you can read them there. But that's what I believe.
But absolutely nothing can be done about this unless it's a vote, right? I mean,
Yes, yeah, there should be a vote.
So you
Yeah.
should be getting out to every household and letting them know, because most people don't show up to those meetings. They have no idea what's going on in here.
Yes, I agree with that. That's part of what I think this group has been talking about, is as far as transparency goes with the group, that I think the board is not keeping everybody informed for elections and what they're going to vote on.
But if they don't have enough interest to go to the meetings, you know, a lot of times they don't have enough interest. I mean,
That's
unless
true.
someone knocks on their door and says, here, at least read this.
Yeah, that's
We all need to get out.
yeah.
and not
Come up to
be
speak if you would. Come up, please, if you would.
The biggest problem here is a lot of people in this park don't have computers and don't have smartphones.
No, but
So
they
they
can
are
go to
not
our
getting
meetings.
the info.
You people are
Or
talking
we
about
have to physically
vote.
go
You know
to
who
the
counts the vote? They count the vote. The vote, a couple years ago, people on the board knew what the outcome of the count was before the count was even made. And now, right now, the person that's running the voting count picked their own crew of people. We don't know what the real count is because they say what it is and then they straight ballots. So what you got to do is get somebody independent to count the votes.
I certainly agree with that. So,
The meeting is the second Monday of every month.
is it?
If they're moving it to Wednesday.
No, it's going to Wednesday.
Is
There's a
it?
couple of months in the summer.
It's going to Wednesday.
Yeah, it is. It's in the Sun Times. Yeah.
Wednesday, they changed it to
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Yeah. And some people go off and do other things those days when they move them during the day like that.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the FO. I'm
That's what we're talking about. They moved it.
Comments, let's bring our comments up to the front. Well, let's have some open mic time here if somebody wants to come up and talk. I'll start it out by saying the gentleman that came up here saying he'd made a mistake, that I think that's possibly what all of us are here for, is to keep from having to feel as though we made that mistake too. I moved in here a year and a half ago, and I feel just like the gentleman did here, that I wondered, did I make a mistake? So anyway, does somebody, any comments come up? Anybody?
I didn't understand what this meeting was all about. I'm involved in a township back in Michigan. We have the same problem. There's a miscommunication with the board and what the people want in the township. And what we have done, and this is just a suggestion, we got the mailing list of every person that lived in the township. And we mailed them a postcard that said, this is what's happening. If you want to get involved, call this number or get on this website, and have 2 or 3 different numbers there that they can contact the leadership of this group of people and then start with that. And as soon as we got that, all of a sudden, people think, it's a little different. I mean, there's more retirees here, but people have their lives and their kids and all this other stuff, and they think everything's going to go along fine. But you got to inform them somehow, get to talk to them. And I just met my new neighbor, Sue. I'm going to get one of these forms. Sue and I are going to be friends. I'm going to get one. No, I mean, we're already friends. But then the other lady that waters the plants, I'm going to be a friend of hers as well, and get one of the. And so that's what it takes, is like grassroots. You just got to do a grassroots kind of thing. There's a gentleman that said you've got to know your neighbor, those kind of things. Get the mailing list. Postcards aren't that much, and stir.
Okay.
I am Bill Sears from South 79th Way, and a couple of questions that people have come up to me, because they know I'm interested in what all of us are trying to accomplish here, is that the availability of the questionnaires. If they don't come to these meetings right here, they're searching all over. They're going to the FOSHA office trying to get the questionnaires out of there, and they're getting some pretty strange looks. Because those people just don't want to deal with them. So they're wandering around, and their neighbors don't have any idea that there's even a questionnaire out there. So that's the problem. We got to be out. I don't know. Maybe we need to put a picket out there or something. Put some signs out there and get everybody in the community involved, because there's a lot of people that are in the dark here, and I think that's what the board's looking for, is keeping people in the dark. So, like I said, talk to your neighbor and let them know what's going on, and grab a couple extra questionnaires.
Yeah. We need more copies of the questionnaire, so we can
And one other thing is, when they're talking about the questionnaires, I tell them we got 400 questionnaires signed. They're saying, well, what do the people of Fountain of the Sun want? What's the results? And I go, I don't know. They've never mentioned that in any of the meetings. Are you guys reviewing the questionnaires and saying, hey, look at this. We've got one person out of 400 that wants a new pickleball court. Why shouldn't we address the board with that? Just for instance, not against anybody who plays pickleball. Just giving everybody an idea what the consensus of the community is. Thank you.
It's 8 o'clock, and we would like to have people stay and talk, but we also want to try to make it possible for people to come on up.
I just forgot to say one thing. We have 2 people from our grassroots group that go to every board meeting. I mean, there's like 5 or 6 of
No,
us.
you should encourage everybody to go.
Well, I agree, but there's 2 people that are assigned every time we talk amongst 6 or 7 of us that we're going to be there. They know that we're there. They know that we're listening. They know that, they know. We keep stirring.
Okay, we asked to have the announcement of this meeting in the blast, and we were told that it would be there, but then it didn't show up. We asked to have it on the reader board. We were told that it would be out there, but then it didn't show up. So we're just trying to get the word out. We're going to continue the march, continue to try to get more open publication of this, but we hope all of you will keep coming back on the first and third Monday of every month. We'll have a nice little party here. Maybe we'll have a potluck or something. But we want to keep our coalition active and interested and reaching out to everybody else in the community. We're going to probably try to do a direct mail.
Got 2 minutes. I'm at the end of my video, so you got 2 minutes.
On the video, and then we're done. So we want to ask Helen to make a quick announcement about the quick response team.
Hi everyone, good to see you again. Most of you, I hope, were here at the last meeting we had. We are in need of quick response KFA people. And quick response, Joe sends out an email and lets you know to meet him at Birdie's. That's the first quick response meeting we had. And there is a sign-up sheet for that. And most of us signed up. I think that, well, most of us that was at the first meeting signed up. So, and I'm asking any of you that would like to be involved, more involved in this, to What do you want them to do?
Bring food.
That too. And we're not particular what kind of food. Then I guess you would come up and sign up. Right? Okay, yes, you would come up and sign up to be on the quick response team.